Hey guys, I'm Dustin Williams, and this is the Unie-FY podcast where we unite businesses, families, and communities. And what better guest to have on than the Brian Harris, who is changing people's lives one smile at a time.
3, 2, 1.
Brian, thanks, bro. Thanks so much for being here. What a huge honor and blessing to be here. How are you, bro?
I'm doing good, man. It's an honor for me, and every time I step into this facility, it makes me want to leave dentistry and just like do something as cool as this. It's so great what you've created here. Like,
Thanks, man.
super impressed.
It means a lot. I mean, I think me and you share a lot of those similarities. And I think that's what's made you, the leader in what you do, is that you didn't just accept kind of dentistry for how it's been done for decades and decades. So, I mean, I think that's a great place to start. So tell me kind of your story of how you started out in like just general dentistry back in the day, and then now you've, fast forward, you're the leader in cosmetic dentistry. So tell me a little bit about kind of that process and how you got to here.
Yeah, so I'll go with a little bit longer version just because I think it's relevant for what we're going to talk about today. But I grew up, in a household where my dad was a dentist, and I got to work for him every summer for $2 an hour, and so I had like this behind the scenes view of what dentistry was really all about, and was never like super excited about like that being my profession of choice. And then mid '90s. I see him go through this transformation. So it's when the first cosmetic dentistry course came about, when it really became a thing. And so he goes to this course, he comes home and transforms his whole practice, stops doing the stuff he didn't enjoy doing, starts
Wow.
focusing on changing lives and transforming smiles. And
So mid 90s.
yeah.
So
So
that was that
mid-90s.
kind of the first where people said, hey, dentistry isn't just about drilling a cavity, that you can actually do more with it.
Yeah. And that's when this first round of like Extreme Makeover, The Swan, these shows started coming out, where it was the first time they really talked about, building confidence through changing smiles or changing an appearance. So, I see him go through that, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, maybe I want to be a dentist. My older brother, Eric, first was like, actually, I want to be a dentist. And so I followed him 2 years later, and then my younger brother, Scott, followed me into dental school, and then my youngest brother opened a dental lab, and so there I found myself, 2005, joining my dad in his dental practice, and that's kind of where it all started. So it was really his example of me seeing him really doing something he loved that made me want to follow in his footsteps.
That's crazy. So you guys have, so just to kind of give the audience like a little bit of an understanding, like, because to me it's still super confusing. Like, I have neighbors and he calls himself a dentist, but he does this, and you're in cosmetic and all this. So kind of explain, because I think it's really important information. Aren't there like 3 or 4 different types of dentistry, or like how does it all work?
Yeah, so while you're in dental school, you can choose to specialize, and that's for those that want to be like an orthodontist, an oral surgeon, an endodontist, kind of do specific things within the industry and just become really good at that. The the cool thing about that is, it allows you to really specialize, and I think the more of one thing you do, the better you get, the more confident you get, and so I think there's real value in being a specialist. The thing that's interesting about cosmetic dentistry is there's no specialty. So you can graduate, get your white coat on one day, and the next day claim to the world that you're a cosmetic dentist, and nobody would know the difference between that and somebody who has been doing cosmetic dentistry for 25 years.
That's crazy.
And so, it's one of those things where, to really get good at it, you've got to have repetitions, you've got to train, you've got to learn different techniques, and it's something that you just learn with time.
So you started working with your dad, so you kind of had this launch pad, or this kind of like of a safety net. But for me, it's always crazy to think, like, me as a marketer, someone who loves, like, to grow businesses, where I feel like there's this huge misunderstanding where just because you're a doctor or just because you're a dentist, like, you're gonna graduate and hit the ground running and make all this money. I feel like it's the most underestimated task is that you have to go build a business just because you have the credentials and just because you can fill a cavity or, build a house, like, you still have to go build a business. And so, like, you've done that better than anyone. So, like, what advice or, like, what have you learned from taking something from, "Hey, we have a practice," to, "Now I have, like, a thriving business?"
Yeah, so when I joined my dad in 2005, he had a great practice already, and that was kind of, I looked at that and I thought, okay, I can just step in and join him, or I can join him, learn from him, and then go and kind of build a name or a brand for myself, and that takes time, So I would say from 2005 to 2016, that's what I did. Tried to just get better at everything, and uh, and I think kind of 2016, I was like, I was good at a lot of things, but the thing I loved most was cosmetic dentistry, and that's when I was like, if I'm going to do this and really do it, like, I wanna only do that and be the best at that, and so I think the shift that happens when you want to be known for something is you've gotta go all in. You can't continue to just do a little bit of everything kind of good. You've gotta say, "You know what? I wanna be known for this, and if I'm gonna be known for this, I just need to be the best at it." And I would say that's when things changed for me, when I decided to go all in on the one thing I was most passionate about. And I think that applies to most businesses.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest mistake people make in growing a business, right? Is that they try to do everything, they become great at nothing. So you have literally become like you're in addition to just being incredible at what you do, I've learned that you've kind of built like a community. You have like a group, a resource group that you guys work together. You have a software that you've even developed, I think. Like you've created this more into a experience. So talk to me about kind of how you've taken like that from just, cosmetic dentistry now to kind of like you're building this almost like this entire brand of all these other things, it's been amazing to watch.
Yeah, I think the biggest cheat code in business is having a mindset of abundance and helping others be better at what they do. And I don't think it's talked about enough. But if I look back and I really think about like what were a couple of things that allowed me to grow in the way that I have, one of the top ones is spending my time helping others become good at the thing that I'm most passionate about. And I think some look at that as like, well, you're just training your competition. Yeah, you are. I've had doctors in this mastermind group that I run that have been with me now for 6, 7 years that are doing amazing things, and they've become, really, if you look at it from a competition standpoint, they become some of my biggest competition, and I love it. I love seeing those, like, in my inner circle just crush it because to some degree, I feel like, I have a little bit of a part of their story, and it pushes me to just continue to be better.
Yeah, that's like rare. I think people are so like protective of their knowledge and, oh, we do this, and it's like I've just seen you like just help people grow, and it's been amazing. And I think that's just a testament to how incredible of a person you are. And I mean, obviously there's a saying that, when the tides rise, I mean, if all the boats come up or whatever it is, and I just think everyone can win together, and I feel like that's something that I think people, I mean, you're the perfect case study of that. And I think people want to work with people like that because that's a whole vibe. That's an energy that you bring. And I think it's all just gonna, I mean, it starts to snowball of all this crazy stuff that's happening. And I mean, for example, now like you're looked at as, the leader in what you do. I just learned some amazing news that you're actually going to be on stage. You're going to be giving a TED talk. So I mean, dude, what a huge honor that's going to be. So tell me how all that came about. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I think that's as a speaker and as an educator, that's kind of been one of my bucket list goals. And I'm excited for that, because I think, the bigger stage that you're on, the more the more opportunity you have to impact others. And even if it's just helping them see things differently in their own business, like I think it's this, a mentor of mine teaches it is this the he calls it it's the difference makes. So it's I can go and change somebody's smile, and it's like, yeah, I've made a difference in their life, right? And I've given them more confidence, and I've impacted them in some way. But the difference makes is the impact that they then go and have on the world, how they show up as a mother, a father, a spouse, an employee. That difference, that's wild, and
That's a
that's
force multiplier like nothing else.
yes,
Confidence is everything. And I mean, and that's kind of like the tagline and what you've kind of that it's not just it's not just, cosmetic dentistry to you. It's you've taken it to brand it to actually the smile. And then the smile radiates, all these things. And it's like, so when people come to you and they're like, are they like, tell us a little bit about like how it goes, like as far as a consult, like what are people's expectations? Like it's a crazy process.
yeah. I mean, sometimes I have to step back and remind myself, like I'm changing a smile. Like your smile it's the one thing that people see every single day. It's what you use to communicate, you know, on a daily basis. And so it's a big deal. Changing your smile, like when it goes well, it's amazing. If it doesn't go well, it's something that can really impact somebody in a really negative way as far as their self-confidence goes. So yeah, I try to look at it from that standpoint of, okay, if we're going to be changing somebody's smile, this has the ability to impact their life in a massive way. I come at it from the approach of, let's give them exactly what they want. Instead of me as the expert, as the doctor of like, no, this is what you want. I look at it more from like, okay, what's going to give them a smile that they love, that's going to allow them to show up powerfully in everything that they do.
And so a lot of these people come in and they're basically like, usually it's kind of like, I hate my smile, I hate my teeth, I hate my mouth.
Yeah.
And so you walk them through. So you kind of have a really cool process. You call it, I think it's like a test drive or like, so explain. So if we have listeners and they're like, hey, I absolutely hate my mouth. It's so cool that I came across this podcast. How does this whole thing work? So kind of tell us, because I think it's a really cool process that you've created.
Well, I think success in cosmetic dentistry is 100% about communication. And from a patient's perspective, if they're interested in improving their smile, they know they want something different than what they have. But like how do you even begin to know what you want if you don't get a chance to visually see it? So I've got an AI based smile simulation platform that all of my patients can go through. It's free, that gives them kind of an idea of what's possible, and then they can kind of have a starting point and know like, okay, here's one version. What do I like about it? What do I not like about it? When they actually come in and see me in the practice, at that first consult visit, we spend about an hour, and I will talk to them first about what they're looking for, style, shape, color, and then we just go and create it together. So freehand, one tooth at a time. It's called the Smile Test Drive, where I'll just build on top of their existing teeth and show them what their smile could look
So
like.
you're using like kind of like a resin or epoxy, something, whatever it is. And it's like, you're literally there, like there's artistry to this.
Oh yeah.
So that's crazy. So how much would you say of this is like in cosmetic dentistry, would you say how much of it is like skill and like just like kind of like just like execution of like task and a science versus being like an artist? Like what's more important?
Well, I think you have to have the artistic still skills to be able to like three-dimensionally bring a smile to life and have it look natural. Like getting the length, the shape, the size, the width, everything just right. Like that. Yeah, there's an artistic skill there that you have to have. I think part of it is the ability to communicate and ask questions and then listen to what people are telling you.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
are there people you think that are general dentists that have tried switching over and they're like, I just don't have the ability to do it, or like they just can't execute it really well and they kind of get out of it? Because it seems like super hard to do.
yeah, it's common. People will want to do more of it. they attempt it 1 or 2 times and they're like, "Oh, I'm just not good at this." I personally believe that, through repetition, like anybody can learn to be good at something, but you have to be willing to put the time in. And and that I mean that's what it takes to be great at something is you've got to be willing to to learn and grow through that process.
That's so cool. And then so basically, you're in the chair. You've carved up this just masterpiece, and it's just temporary, right? And so like, how long does so they see it and they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm sure you get some initial reactions that were just like they're just mind blown, right? And they're just like, this is crazy. So then like, how does the process go from there?
Yeah, so I try to look at it and I tell my patients this when I give you the mirror, it's okay if there are no tears. Like this isn't meant to be like, look how amazing this is. Like I want you to look at this more from a place of like, okay, here's one version of what's possible. Now let's talk about it. What would you change? What could be better? So every step of the way, they get a chance to give feedback and kind of customize and we collaborate and essentially design something together. And then, I let them wear it home. It's great for them to be able to show their spouse, friends, family, get feedback. And then the next step is basically taking that test drive. We take a 3D scan of it, and then we get feedback on what they like, what they don't like, and then we start to design like version one of their new smile.
So that process, does that actually help you by already having a 3D scan? Because then do you kind of use that as the base blueprint?
That
So you're not actually doing a lot of the work twice. Well, so that actually helps you have a starting point. That's cool.
It's great for them to be able to visualize, to be, I mean, frankly, it's great from an overall business standpoint for them to get emotionally bought into what they're doing when they can see it and wear it and try it out for a day. It's like you have the chance to live one day with total
Yeah.
confidence in your smile and like experience what that feels like.
Like a plastic surgeon, he can't like do, a breast augmentation or a nose job and be like, check it out. How do you like it? And then take it out. Like, no, it's like, so that's a cool thing that you have to where you can actually
Yeah.
test drive it. That's crazy.
I mean, if they could, I would have fixed this a long
Oh,
time
get
ago
out of here,
if I
man.
would have
Dude.
had the chance to know. But really, to be able to like walk around and like see yourself differently for a day, it's huge.
Yeah.
And so yeah, then it's the visit to actually start the transformation where we design the teeth, put a temporary set of veneers on, let them wear that for a week and give feedback, and then put the finals in. So it's a pretty cool process.
And the process is, I mean, it's pretty evasive. Like do you feel like a lot of people, because I feel like it's a mixed bag of people out there who are like, dude, I want my real teeth, or that's what's going to happen in 40, 50 years. So for people that don't know, you actually like kind of grind down your existing teeth. Like it's a crazy process. So are people like, how do you help them through that like, hey, it's going to be okay? And like, tell us like, how does that process go?
Yeah, so there's different ways to design a smile, but most of the time there is some alteration of the teeth underneath. There doesn't have to be. The risk of not making changes is things can look too big, too bulky, or materials can get too thin and be more likely to fracture. So yeah, there's usually some sort of alteration. So what's important to know about that is, the dentist has to be confident that what they're going to create for you and put in that place is going to look good and last a long time. And so I help people really think through that process and understand like, hey, what we're doing here, like, yeah, it's a permanent fix. And you may need to change it out in 20, 30 years. But yeah, it's you're making permanent changes.
But I've never said, like, people say that, oh, it's evasive. I don't want to do that because this, and that. But at the end of the day, I know a lot of people who have done veneers. I know a lot of people who you've done them for. And no one ever says that it wasn't like the best thing that they've ever done. So, I mean, it's amazing, like what you're able to accomplish and what you're able to do. Like, do you think like, I feel like it's kind of new. Like, a funny story. I was at a golf course the other day, and a guy knew me, but I didn't like know him. But we had like, I guess we had crossed paths in the past. And he starts yelling at me, and he wanted to get my attention. And guess what he was calling me? He was calling me Smiles. And like, I'm not that smiley of a guy. And I thought it was the funniest thing because Like, obviously you did my mouth, and it's been one of the coolest
Yep.
things I've ever done through. I love my teeth. And but he associated me with smiling or smiles just because of my mouth.
Yep.
That's what he was calling me. So he's like, "Smiles, smiles."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "What? Smiles?" Like, so that's a crazy story.
Yep.
Like, literally, like, I don't even smile, bro. And he literally was associating me with my mouth.
Yep.
Of all the things, he could have called me like shoes or glasses or what, but no, he wanted to call me smiles just because of my teeth. That's crazy.
I do think it is one of the I think the reason people always say like, "Hey, it's one of the best things I've done," is that there's other types of cosmetic procedures you can have done, right? Like there's like I can go get ab etching done and have a six pack every time I take my shirt off. But nobody sees that unless I'm at the beach or I'm swimming, right? You can have other things augmented and nobody really sees that unless they're able to see it. With the smile though, like you can't hide it. It's front and center in everything you do. And so I think part of the reason it's such an impactful transformation for a lot of people is they get to enjoy it all day long. It's something they can enjoy, in just normal conversation when they're taking photos, when they're out with friends, like it's always on display.
Do you feel like I feel like a lot of people don't know that this technology is even available still? Why do you feel like, and maybe you won't like, this question, but like, why do you feel like dentists kind of pivot to like smile transformation, or like, why do people not just hardcore marketing like, hey, your teeth suck, let's make them great? It's kind of like a club, I feel, of people. It's like, oh, there's cosmetic dentistry and we can do it. And then a lot of people don't even like people to know that they've done it. I feel it's kind of like this tender thing, and like why? Like, why do you agree with me a little bit that it's kind of like a unique thing?
Yeah, I think social media has changed a lot. I think there's more and more people now open to talking about it. There was a time in my career where like it was like people came to have their smile transformed. They didn't want anybody to know. And now we get kind of it's 50-50.
Okay.
I work with a lot of well-known people that the goal is
Celebrities, bro. You're doing A-list celebrity, like you're the guy. So it's like, are they kind of like, it's weird.
yeah, so and there's a fine line there because you want to give them a smile they absolutely love. You want to help them transform their smile, but you also don't want it to be the thing that's talked about, the next day on Reddit of like, "Oh, did you see so and so change their smile?" And so from an artistic standpoint, it's really understanding how shape and size affect the overall smile. Like you can put somebody through a crazy transformation, and if you get the shape right and the size right and the color to blend with their skin tone, it's like people know they've had something done, but they don't necessarily know what it is. Where if you get that wrong, it can make a big difference in a negative way. So
Yeah, MG, pull up some of these. I want to like, this is absolutely insane, the transformations on some of these. Like, I can't, like, this is crazy. Dude, you've done thousands of mouths.
that's
This is so crazy to see. That one right there, like, it's unbelievable the difference that middle one right there is making.
oh
That's
yeah.
so cool. So, but you mentioned it, like, if they don't get, if they don't respond in tears, like, it is what it is. But like, what, like, talk about some of the craziest, like, I'm sure you have a couple stories where it literally changed someone's life, and their actual, like, I bet people are like in depression, suicidal, like if they hate their teeth, like they don't even want to open up and talk to people. Like, I'm sure you have a couple stories of just, you don't have to name names, but I mean, tell me some of the coolest reactions that you've had.
No, for sure it is. Dentistry is an interesting thing because it's a vulnerable space, right? It's your mouth, it's up close and personal. Like it's one of those things like nobody wants to feel um nobody wants to let people in like that close to such a personal space. And so when when you're talking about transformation, sometimes it's somebody that's already like at a 9 and they just want their smile to be a 10. That's a whole different conversation. The real conversation though is like Alexa, like 12 and a half year battle with bulimia, teeth eroded down, but now like married, has a newborn baby, and has beaten this eating disorder.
Dude, I'm getting chills.
Yeah.
I love this stuff.
Like this is what drives me because it's like, you know, beats an eating disorder, but now every day looks in the mirror and sees the destruction, and it reminds her of that like darkness in that past. And so she's just looking for a way to forget that and to start new. But she goes to 4 different dentists, you know, and instead of seeing her as a human, they look at her and it starts the conversation of, oh yeah, look at all this destruction. The eating disorder caused this. They come at it from very much a logical approach of like the how it's happened and how much destruction is there, and then they just give her a treatment plan, $40,000, $50,000, and that's what she has to go home with, a piece of paper to show her husband of like why she needs $50,000 worth of work. And so what I love about my approach is like I ignore all of the logic first, and it's really more a conversation of, hey Alexa, like I think it's amazing that you've beat this, and I would love to work with you so that you don't ever have to think about that part of your life again. Before we jump into all the specifics and details, what if we just spend 45 minutes? Let me build a new smile and let me show you what this could look like so you can wear it out for the day and just experience life with a new smile. Would that be okay with you? And so we do that. We build that. She gets to wear it home. And yeah, then we still have to talk about the cost. We still have to talk about the process. But when you focus on the things that are really important to people first, when they're emotionally bought in, like they'll move mountains to make it happen. You know, I've seen people sell cars, sell houses, and borrow money from 401k because they understand what we're really doing. It's not just a cosmetic enhancement. It's a new
It's a
life.
lifestyle change.
Yeah.
That's amazing, dude. That's so crazy. So like for people that are like looking into it, well, for what I want to say, dude, is that's what makes you so great. That's because you care about the person. And I think in businesses, people always come to me. It's like, oh, like, can you help me do branding? Can you help me do marketing? I want to get uniforms. I want this. I want that. And I'm like, okay, cool. And they want to spend all this money. Some of these people are spending millions of dollars on advertising, millions of dollars on marketing, and it's like you're forgetting some of the core principles that make you build a successful business. And it's peel everything back, take all the marketing out of it. It comes down to at the base of your business, the core principles of your business. Do you care about genuinely helping people have a better life? It's that simple. And that's like one of the most profound things that you can do in your business is help improve people's lives, help add value. And so everyone gets so distracted about the finances and the marketing and all this. And it's like, you're a genius, bro, because you just take all that nonsense out and just say, how can I help you be happier? How can I help improve your confidence? And in order to do that, you do something that's even more special is you take time to learn about these people, to learn about, what makes them tick. And I mean, that's just it's so simple, but like no one's doing it. And it's like that's how you've built your whole business around is helping people and helping them build confidence. And like to me, like you're the go to that space. I can't like applaud you more for it. But you still have to also like market. You still have to, get the views and talk to people. And you've also crushed it on that side of it. So like on an intimate, humane level, you're amazing, but also you're killing it on like social media and just your consistency there. So like what are some of like what's your secret sauce that you've like just you have hundreds of thousands of followers on multiple platforms. Like tell me about that and that growth. And yet one day you opened up Instagram 10 years ago and said, I'm going to start doing this, and started with one follower, and now look at you. So tell us about the journey.
Yeah, I think I'm ashamed to say, but for a lot of my career, I was very focused on the sales process. You know, I thought success came from sales tactics, saying the right thing, strategy, how you set up your sales process within your business so that more people will buy. Bringing in a closer to present treatment. Well, and if you have somebody that can close the deal, like that's how you end up growing your business. And and everything shifted years ago. I think I just woke up and was like, you know what? Like, what if we just made it about the buyer's process? What if we like put aside everything from a sales standpoint, everything of like how to convince people to buy from us, and purely focused on like what is it that people really want? Well, they want to know like, what are my options? Can I trust you? How much does it cost? And so, ever since that moment where I woke up, I have tried to always put my focus on the buyer's process, the patient's perspective, and I've built my entire brand around that. So when you go to my social media page, sometimes I'll post stuff about myself, not super often, but most of it is
I
about,
think we all wish you would
yeah,
more.
most of it is about my patients, their smiles, their experience. Like I try to look at everything I post from a place of like, okay, if I was at home, self-conscious of my smile, wanting to do something and stuck because I didn't know where to start, like what would I want to see? And then I just go and create content around that. And I think it's something that gets missed. I mean, think about, you go to social media now and think about all the content out there of like sales tactics and what to say and how to convince people to buy. I just don't think that people buy that way. I think people buy because they feel like buying and because they trust you.
Yeah.
And
Well, you said the word, you called it like a sales process or whatever. To me, I think the secret and what you kill it at is it's to me everything is gearing and changing to experiences. It's an experiential process. And like at uni, you do it too. It's like, how can I make this an incredible experience? In sports, we see it. Like you used to go to a baseball game and have to flag down a guy to buy a hot dog. That was the experience, right? At the good old ballpark. Now it's like, hey, am I in the Nexus Club? Am I in this? Like, how far are my seats from the bathroom? And like, is there a place to go network? Like at the Suns, we have the rah rah room, and it's an experience. And that's like, to me, like when I'm buying and people are spending their hard earned money on something, they want more than just a product or, cosmetic work done. It's like, what experience am I giving them from the minute they hear about me to the minute they leave and transact with me? And so I think experiential marketing to me is, I think we're starting to see it pick up, but I really think it's the future. And that's kind of where my head's at, is like, what can I do to basically give people an incredible experience that no one else can duplicate? And if they duplicate, I have to be always evolving. So, and you're doing the same thing. So like, there's a huge evolution to where it's at. So, I mean, like, what do you feel about that?
well, listen, like what you've created with Uni, it's no different than what I've created with my brand, right? You've taken something that traditionally, like buying uniforms, buying scrubs, has always been a sales process. It's always been a company and they come up with a good brand or a logo and they try to come up with cool colors, but they're always focused on like, what can we sell next to the customer? You've completely flipped that around and said, okay, as the customer, like, what do they really want? And well, how great would it be to be able to customize the uniforms for your team, and not just customize them, but like customize them in your own particular way that makes your team feel different, show up different, like feel like they're a part of something different than they would wearing, normal scrubs that everybody else has. You focus on, the whole buying experience. What if you made it easier on employers to be able to offer their team members the best possible stuff when it comes to uniforms, and to do it in a way where it's quick. There's always inventory on hand. So it's like you've done the same thing. It's all the customer experience that you focused on.
Because I think it drives me crazy that, like, I think a lot of people, and I mean, you share this with me, is that they treat employees just kind of like it's just cattle. They're just hurting them here, hurting them there. It's just labor. We just pay for labor. I'll sign your check at the end of the day, go on your way. It's like, I think the hardworking, the blue collar, workers of America, it's like they're going to be living in those uniforms more than they're at home. They're living in those uniforms more than they're with their families. They're in those uniforms 12 hours more than they're sleeping. Like, they live in their uniforms. How like, belittling is it that if someone gives you a uniform, you're gonna wear that same uniform literally for the next 5, 6, 7 years and have, like, no identity to it? And that's like it's the same thing. It's like, so what's the emotional side of this? What's the experience? If an employee can come to work and basically have a little bit of a choice of what he's wearing because he's wearing the Alo, the Lululemon, the North Face inspired garments, and then he can say, "Hey, I have a sense of pride. I have a sense of belonging." It boosts their confidence. It makes them feel like, and there's an ROI to that. Why wouldn't you wanna retain your employees longer? Why wouldn't you want them to feel more comfortable in what they're wearing? Why wouldn't you want them to feel like they're not just a number to you? It's the same thing, like, it just and it's crazy to me that that companies, like, aren't thinking, like, that should be at the top of my priority list. I mean, we're nothing without our employees and everything, so I don't know, it's obviously passionate to me.
Well, and you can even go one step further in that, like, so like this little leather bracelet I have, if you look really close, like you can't see it, but if you looked really close and kind of squinted, it says be the connection. So in my practice, it's all about connection. It's connecting with people, right? And so I can take something like that, that it's just a reminder for me to always be present and be connecting with people. And so to be able to take even something like that that my team knows about, and then take that and put BTC on a little tab on my scrubs now that nobody knows what it is, but I know what it is. My team knows what it is. Like, so people now show up differently because they know, that it's not just a popular scrub brand. It's like there's pieces of your culture that can be built into
They're
this
literally
uniform experience.
woven
Yeah.
in, bolted on. It's not just an embroidery, but
Yeah.
that's
So I want that
amazing.
on my scrubs,
N
BTC. Okay.
Done,
Okay.
dude,
Done.
done. So, coming back to, like, I'm just so stoked for you on this TED Talk. I can't get it out of my head. So, like, you do a lot of, like, you get on stage a lot. Like, you're looked to as kinda like, I think, like, kinda the mouthpiece of the entire cosmetic dentistry, uh, space. Like, do you still feel nerves? Do you, how do you go about, like, preparing a talk like that? What are you gonna do, dude? I'm so excited to learn about how you're gonna figure this out.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I get excited before I step on every stage. Um, there's always some nerves there. I think what's different about a TEDx stage is like the whole world's gonna potentially see that, and so I feel this responsibility not just to represent, my profession or my industry, but I feel this responsibility. Like if I'm going to do it, like I want to share something impactful.
Yeah,
And
that's why you're gonna wear
yeah,
uni scrubs up on stage.
yeah,
Exactly.
of
It's
course,
very
that's
impactful.
why I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna do that. Uh, no, but
Sorry.
it's like, I want it to be impactful. I want it to be, and luckily for me, they've asked me to speak about something that I'm most passionate about, which is this whole idea of connection, and so the title is the connection code. So I'm going to talk about, both in personal relationships and business, like the value of like true connection and serving people at the highest level. So I'm excited. I would be lying to tell you that I'm not a little bit nervous, because it's a dream of mine, but
Where do they,
I'm super excited.
can you buy tickets to that? Like, if I wanted to come support you, it's like you have to be invited.
You can buy tickets, but I'm not going to let you because I don't want you to throw off my.
Yeah, whatever. I'll be, dude. That's
No,
so.
dude, you'd be my biggest fan. I know that. No, but no, you can. Um, you can.
I might just be there, dude. And so
Be awesome.
connecting is, you've peeled the onion back and basically you've taught, so well today, like, how you connect with people. It's and I mean that's and, like, just throwing out the whole entire traditional sales pitch and just, being, finding people's, what makes them tick, their why. Um Creating that relationship, you're amazing at that. What are some of the other things? And it's cool that you want to help other dentists, but I feel like so many dudes are messing up out there, and it's like, so what are some of the biggest things that, like, you think that people need to, like, that they could quickly change that would help improve their practices? Because tons of dentists are going to watch this.
Yeah, I would say number one, if they could step back and truly separate themselves from the need of having to have somebody buy something from them. I want to make sure I explain this in the best way. When you can let go of that need for like, oh, I gotta go in. I've got to close this sale, or I've got to convert this case, and I need them to sign them. When you can separate yourself from that and be free of that, and just show up and just spend the time you have to help people understand their options, knowing that they may or may not decide to work with you, but leave everything out there for them. I think that's the
So
number one thing.
transactional, you think, is
Yes.
the biggest. It's such a transactional
Yeah.
space.
So it's like, how do you go from transactional to transformational? How do you
Okay.
go from, you know, forgetting that whole part of, I mean, it's a business, right? It's still a business, but how do you set that aside for a minute and just be present and really help them understand what their options are and what's best for them? So I think that's number one. I think probably the second piece of advice that I would give is like stop trying to be a little bit good at everything and just like find the things you're most passionate about and be the best at that.
So you're saying more like specialize within, even if it's general dentistry, you think that people could become better at some of those things within general, and then like specializing is always really good, because I think you guys all talk a lot like within the community, and you say, oh, this guy's really good at that, or this guy's really good at this.
And my
So
wife said one time, Brian, you could be great at anything, just not everything. And and it came at a time when I was spread really thin, where I was trying to do too much. And what she was trying to let me know is like, hey, I believe in you. I believe you can be successful at anything you do, but not everything. If you try to do it all, you're not going to be as successful as you could be if you were more focused on the things that were most important to you. And I think that's super important. Like in dentistry specifically, like I can try to do a ton of things and just be a little bit good at each, or I can try to do one thing really well and just be the best at that. And I think that's a an important lesson to learn.
what about like from a marketing, or like, because these guys graduate and I feel like they all just go get a place in a strip mall and like put a sign up, and like it's just all kind of like the same show. Like, is there any advice that you could have to like how do you grow a dentistry in today? Like if you're Brian today and 20, 25, walking out of, put your coat on, and you're like, let's go, like where do you start?
I think you start by just starting, just get experience. I think we're all too impatient. I still sometimes look back, I'm like, yeah, I've been at this almost 22 years. And it takes time, specifically in dentistry, but this could apply to any profession. Like you've got to get your repetitions in. You've got to get good at your craft and what you do. You've got to get good at communicating with people and understanding how the business runs. And so instead of trying to, fake it till you make it and come out and try to, act like you're the best when you really don't have the experience, like put your head down, go to work, work 5 days a week, work 6 days a week if you need to, just get the repetitions, like really understand your industry. And then in that process, there will come a time where you're like, dang, I'm actually really good at that thing. And and that's when you start to say like, okay, I'm going to find a way to do more of that. And I think the best way to do more of something is to show the world that you're good at something. Start posting on social media, um, regardless of the industry you're in. Start posting about what you're really good at, showing the world what you do. And the more you do that, the more people will see you as the expert in that thing. And then it just builds from there. So the biggest thing though is just time. Be patient. And I think success, as you know, I mean, you spent years building several successful businesses, but there's been some failures along the way.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sure. I've got a long list of things that I tried that didn't work, and you've got to just learn on your own.
So do you feel like a lot of these guys are just, so when you first start out, are these guys doing their own marketing and balancing their own books, like doing all this, or is there like resources out there in communities to where like basically they can be they like because I feel like a lot of these guys spread themselves too thin, and then they're never able to focus and specialize. So, I mean, is it smart, do you feel, to kind of build a team around you to kind of maybe buy into an existing practice? Like, I'm sure you know a few guys who have done it right and wrong recently. Is there any advice there?
Yeah, I think there's always trade-offs. If you go and work for somebody else, it's going to take longer, but you're going to be able to. So it's going to take longer to um, build your personal brand because you're working under somebody else, but you have that safety net of being able to learn from somebody that's done it before. If you go and hang a sign and do your own thing, you're going to learn as you go, but you have that sense of pride of like you've got your own thing. Um, I think there's trade-offs. I don't know there's any right or wrong way to do it. I think the key to all of it is like you've got to be passionate about it and you've got to just, give it time to grow.
So, like, for you, as far as like when you like relate to people and you've built this incredible business, like on reputation, and you're crushing it right now, is like where do you go from here, like personally? Like, do you have any goals, any crazy, thing, like moving forward? Because I feel like you're always moving and shaking and like looking at the next thing. Like, is there anything in the Brian Harris mind that's coming down the pipe?
Yeah, I mean, I think this next year is gonna be an amazing year. Like, I make my moves in silence now. Um, and
We're looking for a hot take, guys. We're not gonna get.
no, I mean, so here's my. I'm joking, but I'm kind of serious. Like, I love the idea of being able to dream big and just like and go for things. What I found though is over the years, there's value in doing things out loud in public because it holds you accountable. The downside of that is that it can make you seem kind of crazy to other people around you. They're like, dude, what are you doing? Where are you doing something new? You've already got all these other things. Um, but I make my moves in silence now because I love the idea of creation. I love the idea of having an idea, bringing it to life, and then scaling and growing it. But I feel like I'm also getting to this place where my dreams, my goals are getting bigger, and it's not from a place of financial success, or it's not that it's like what I have now is not enough. Like I have enough. It's more that I think there's something bigger out there from an impact standpoint. That
See, that's it right there, the impact. I got asked this yesterday at lunch, of like, "Hey, you've took exits on big businesses, like you're financially sound and secure." It's like, why in the world would you ever start, another company? That's crazy. Why do you have like why are you not okay where you're at? And I think that's the answer, is because it's not, to me, if it's all financially driven, then like what do we like that's how you're going to define your existence and your life, is like how much money I can make, and how like success to me is defined exactly like what you're saying, like what impact can I make? If you can change the way that people feel about, their life through building confidence and smiles, if I can change the way that the world, think of the tens and millions of people that are wearing uniforms right now that hate their life and hate their uniform because they feel like a number. That's an impact. And if it's impact driven, if it's relational and not financial or transactional, like that's the stuff that matters. That's where you're moving mountains and changing lives, and that's what makes me tick.
yeah,
So,
yeah, and I think it's an evolution though, because people told me that for years of like, oh, you're gonna have a big exit someday, and the money's gonna hit your bank account, and you're not gonna feel any happier. And my thought was always like, oh well, I'll determine that at that time,
yeah.
or it's like, yeah, you're gonna buy that supercar, and you're gonna have that Ferrari, and then it's gonna wear off on you. I'm like, well, we'll see. But the reality is, you do get there, and those things do happen, and then it makes you just realize, like, yeah, it isn't all about financial success. It is about the impact, and I think once that happens, and you see that shift, then you're like, okay, I can have both. It doesn't have to be an either or.
Yep.
It can be an and. Like I can have financial success and create massive impact. And I think that's what I'm looking for now is like how do I increase that difference the difference makes.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I'm super grateful for you. I hope that we gave some, some great information to help people out there. I mean, you're just a fountain of knowledge, and you're an example. A lot of ways that you've built your businesses. I mean, I think a lot of people watch from afar, and they mimic those things, and it's really impressive what you've done. And I'm a huge fan. I'm super grateful for you, and I wish you and your family nothing but the best. So thanks so much for being here, man.
Thank you for having me. And listen, I feel the same way about you. I'm inspired by what you've already created in the past and what you can continue to create. And I've had you come out, to some of my events and to see you in your element up there on stage talking about story and branding. And I mean, I can tell it's something you're passionate about too. So I'm excited to see where all this goes for you too, man. It's gonna be a fun ride.
Awesome. Thanks so much, dude. Thanks for being here.
Of course, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.